The transport ship descended through Earth's atmosphere with barely a whisper. Captain Taeyang Kim stood in the docking bay of the diplomatic station, his uniform pressed sharp, his expression carefully neutral. Around him, dozens of officials and diplomats rushed about, preparing for the arrival that would change everything. The Velarine princess was coming to Earth, and Taeyang had been given the impossible job of keeping her alive. He had received the orders 3 days ago. The message was simple and direct. Protect Princess Nira Vel-Seth with his life. The Velarine Empire had agreed to a peace treaty after decades of cold tension, and this visit was the first step toward cooperation. If anything happened to the princess, war would follow. Taeyang understood the weight of it. He had fought in enough battles to know what war meant. The ship landed with a soft hiss. The boarding ramp extended, and Taeyang straightened his posture. He had seen images of Velarines before, but nothing prepared him for seeing one in person. Princess Nira emerged from the ship like she was walking through water. Her movements were too smooth, too graceful. Her skin had a faint glow, like moonlight on water. She had 4 eyes, 2 where a human would have them, and 2 smaller ones on her temples. They moved independently, always watching. She wore robes that seemed to shift colors as she moved, and her expression was cold and distant. Behind her walked 2 Velarine guards, tall and silent. They looked at Taeyang like he was something stuck to their boot. Ambassador Li stepped forward first, bowing deeply. Princess Nira, welcome to Earth. We are honored by your presence. The princess barely glanced at him. Her voice was musical but flat. I am here because my mother commanded it. Let us proceed with the formalities quickly. Ambassador Li looked uncomfortable but nodded. He gestured to Taeyang. This is Captain Taeyang Kim. He will serve as your personal guard during your stay. Nira's 4 eyes focused on Taeyang all at once. It felt like being examined under bright lights. She looked him up and down, her expression unchanged. A human? How quaint. I was told your species is difficult to kill. I suppose that makes you useful. Taeyang kept his face blank. He had dealt with worse insults in the military. I'll keep you safe, Your Highness. See that you do. She walked past him without another word, her guards following close behind. The first week was cold and formal. Princess Nira stayed in the luxury suite prepared for her, rarely venturing out. When she did, Taeyang followed at a respectful distance. She never spoke to him directly unless necessary. She spent her time reading reports, attending boring diplomatic meetings, and avoiding any real contact with humans. Taeyang wondered why she had bothered coming at all. He learned her schedule quickly. Morning meditation in her chambers. Mid-morning meetings with Earth officials. Afternoon study of human culture through digital records. Evening walks through the secured gardens. She was predictable, which made his job easier but also worried him. Predictable patterns were dangerous. On the 8th day, his worries proved correct. The evening walk started normally. Nira strolled through the gardens, her 2 guards flanking her, Taeyang following behind. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. Nira paused by a fountain, studying the water with what might have been curiosity. Then, the world exploded. Taeyang's instinct screamed a warning half a second before the plasma bolt streaked through the air. He moved without thinking, his body already in motion. He slammed into Princess Nira from the side, throwing her to the ground behind the fountain's stone base. The bolt hit him square in the back. The pain was immediate and overwhelming. Plasma weapons were designed to burn through Velarine armor and flesh in seconds. Taeyang felt his back muscles seize and his skin blister. But humans were tougher than Velarines. Their bones were denser. Their pain tolerance was higher. Their bodies could take damage that would kill most aliens instantly. Taeyang rolled with Nira behind cover, his hand already pulling his weapon. He spotted the assassin on a rooftop, repositioning for another shot. Taeyang fired 3 times. The first shot missed. The second hit the assassin's shoulder. The third hit center mass. The figure fell. More plasma bolts came from different directions. There were more of them. Taeyong's earpiece crackled with urgent voices. Security teams were responding. But they were still 30 seconds away. 30 seconds was a lifetime in combat. One of Nira's guards moved to intercept a bolt and was hit in the chest. He fell without a sound, dead before he hit the ground. The other guard returned fire, her movements precise and controlled. But she was protecting her position, not moving. Velerines fought like chess players, careful and calculated. Taeyong fought like a human. He grabbed Nira and ran. "What are you doing?" she gasped, her voice shocked. "Keeping you alive." Taeyong's back screamed in agony, but he ignored it. He zigzagged through the garden, using trees and structures for cover. Plasma bolts hit the ground around them, leaving scorched marks. He could hear the assassins repositioning, trying to cut off his escape route. He reached the service entrance and practically threw Nira through the door. The remaining Velerine guard followed, still firing behind them. Taeyong sealed the door and activated the emergency lockdown. Heavy blast doors slammed down throughout the facility. They were in a maintenance corridor, dimly lit and cramped. Taeyong finally let himself lean against the wall, breathing hard. The pain in his back was incredible, but he was alive. That was what mattered. Nira stared at him, all four eyes wide. "You're injured. You were shot. I'll live." Taeyong checked his weapon and reloaded. "Standard protocol is to get you to the secure bunker. We'll move in 2 minutes. You should be dead." Nira's voice was different now, less cold, more confused. "That plasma bolt should have killed you instantly." "I'm human." Taeyong managed a tight smile. "We don't die easy." The Velerine guard stepped forward, examining Taeyong's back. Second-degree burns across 30% of his back surface. Internal trauma to muscle tissue. Any Velerine would be dead or dying. He's still standing. Nira approached slowly, her four eyes studying Taeyong like he was a puzzle she needed to solve. "Why did you do that? Why did you put yourself in danger for me?" Taeyong met her gaze. "It's my job. Your job is to guard me, not to die for me. If I have to die to keep you safe, then I die. That's what the job means." He pushed himself off the wall, forcing his body to move despite the pain. We need to move now." They might have breached the other entrances. Security teams arrived moments later, securing the area. Medical personnel tried to treat Taeyong's wound, but he refused until Nira was safely in the bunker. They made it without further incident. The bunker was a reinforced chamber deep underground, designed to withstand orbital bombardment. Once inside, Taeyong finally allowed the medics to work on him. They applied healing gel and regeneration patches. The pain began to fade to a dull throb. He would be sore for days, but he would heal. Humans always healed. Princess Nira sat across from him, watching silently. Her guards were dead. The assassination attempt had come from a rival Velerine faction that opposed the treaty. 3 attackers had been killed, 2 captured. It could have been much worse. "Thank you," Nira said quietly. The coldness in her voice was gone. "You saved my life." Taeyong nodded. "That's why I'm here. You nearly died." "Nearly doesn't count." Nira's 4 eyes studied him with something that might have been respect. "Perhaps there is more to humans than I believed. You are more than simple guards." "We're stubborn," Taeyong said. "That's what makes us hard to kill." For the first time since arriving on Earth, Princess Nira smiled. It was small and uncertain, but it was real. Something had changed between them in those few seconds of violence. She no longer saw him as a simple tool. And Taeyong realized that maybe, just maybe, this assignment would be more complicated than he thought. The future had become uncertain. But humans had never been afraid of uncertainty. 3 weeks had passed since the assassination attempt. The wound on Taeyong's back had healed into a new scar, another mark to add to his collection. But something else had changed too. Princess Nira no longer kept him at a distance. She started asking questions. It began small. During their morning walks through the secured facility, she would pause and ask about the plants in the garden. Why do humans grow things that serve no purpose, except to look pretty? 1. And 1. Taeyang explained that beauty was its own purpose. She seemed to find this concept strange, but interesting. Then the questions grew deeper. She asked about Earth's history, about the wars humans had fought, about why humans never seemed to give up, even when they were losing. Taeyang answered honestly, telling her about the conflicts that had nearly destroyed Earth centuries ago, about the plagues and famines, about how humanity had clawed its way back from the edge of extinction more than once. Your species should have died out, Nira said one afternoon. They were in her study, where she spent most of her time reading. By all logical probability, humans should have destroyed themselves or been destroyed by natural disaster. But you're still here. We're too stubborn to die, Taeyang said with a slight smile. It's kind of our thing. Nira's 4 eyes focused on him. My people achieved perfection thousands of years ago. We eliminated disease, hunger, and internal conflict. Our society runs without flaw, but we have not advanced significantly in millennia. We simply maintain what we have built. And that bothers you? It should not. Perfection needs no improvement. But her tone suggested she did not believe her own words. Yet, when I study human history, I see constant change, constant struggle. You fall and rise and fall again. It seems exhausting. It is, Taeyang admitted. But it's also what keeps us alive. We adapt or we die. That's the only rule that matters. Something shifted in Nira's expression. The coldness that had defined her when she first arrived was slowly melting away. Taeyang found himself actually enjoying their conversations. She was intelligent and curious, even if she tried to hide it behind royal formality. Then came the day that changed everything. Ambassador Li had organized a cultural festival to celebrate the treaty. It was meant to be a small event, limited to diplomats and officials. But Nira surprised everyone by expressing interest in attending. The security team went into panic mode. Taeyang assured them he could keep her safe. The festival was held in a public park, heavily secured, but open to the sky. There were booths, displaying human art, music, food, and traditions from across Earth. Taeyang walked beside Nira as she moved through the crowds. People stared but kept their distance, awed by the alien princess in their midst. Nira stopped at a booth displaying traditional Korean drums. An elderly woman was demonstrating the instrument, her hands moving in complex rhythms. The sound was deep and primal, nothing like the refined music of the Vellerine court. Nira stood, transfixed. "Would you like to try?" the woman asked, smiling warmly. Nira hesitated. Protocol said she should maintain distance from common citizens. But Taeyang saw the curiosity in her eyes. He nodded slightly, giving her silent permission to break the rules. She picked up the drumsticks awkwardly. Her first attempts were clumsy and off-rhythm, but she kept trying, and slowly, she found a simple beat. When she finally created something that sounded like music, she looked up at Taeyang with an expression of pure delight. He realized it was the first time he had seen her truly happy. They spent hours at the festival. Nira tried Earth food for the first time, making faces at the strange flavors, but going back for more. She watched street performers juggling and dancing. She listened to children singing. And slowly, the formal mask she wore slipped away completely. She laughed at a comedian's jokes, even though she did not fully understand them. She clapped along to music even though she had no sense of rhythm. As the sun set, they sat on a bench overlooking the park. The festival lights twinkled around them. Nira was quiet, but it was a comfortable silence now. "I have never experienced anything like this," she said softly. "In the Vellerine court, everything is planned and perfect. There is no chaos, no surprise, No joy like this. That sounds lonely, Taeyang said. It is the burden of royalty. I am not meant to have these experiences. I am meant to be a symbol, not a person. She looked at him, her 4 eyes reflecting the festival lights. You asked me once why I came to Earth. The truth is, I volunteered. My mother wanted to send an ambassador, but I insisted it should be me. I wanted to understand why humans were considered so dangerous. Why you were the only species the Velarine Empire truly feared. And what did you learn? That you are dangerous not because of your weapons or your aggression, but because you refuse to accept limitations. You believe you can change anything, survive anything, become anything. It is terrifying and inspiring at the same time. Taeyang considered this. Is that why you agreed to the treaty? Because you're afraid of us? No. Nira's voice was firm. I agreed because I believe our people need each other. Velarines have perfection but no growth. Humans have growth but no stability. Together, we could achieve something neither species can alone. She paused, then added quietly, I believe in our future. Taeyang caught it immediately. Our future? Nira blinked, all 4 eyes widening slightly. I meant the future of the treaty, of our peoples working together. Right, of course. But Taeyang felt something shift in his chest. The way she said it felt personal, like she was including him specifically in that future. The moment was interrupted by his communicator buzzing. It was his commanding officer, Colonel Daehyun Choi. Kim, return to base immediately. We have a situation. The briefing room was cold and sterile. Colonel Choi stood at the head of the table, his expression grim. Lieutenant Hana Park was there too, along with several intelligence officers Taeyang did not recognize. We have credible intelligence about another assassination attempt, Choi began without preamble. Multiple factions want the treaty to fail. Both human and Velarine extremists are working toward the same goal. How credible? Very. Our sources indicate the attack will happen within the next week. Choi pulled up holographic displays showing intercepted communications and surveillance footage. They're planning something big. Something that will not only kill the princess but make it look like Earth was responsible. Hana leaned forward, her tactical mind already working through the problem. If they succeed, the Velarine Empire will have justification for war. The treaty will be worthless. Exactly. Choi's eyes fixed on Taeyang. Which is why we need to use the princess as bait. Taeyang felt ice in his veins. Excuse me? We draw out the conspirators by making them believe they have an opportunity. The princess makes a public appearance at a predictable location. They make their move. We capture them and expose the conspiracy. Choi's tone was matter-of-fact, like he was discussing a training exercise. You want to put her life at risk. We'll have overwhelming security. Multiple teams. The best equipment. She'll be as safe as we can make her. As safe as you can make her is not safe enough. Taeyang stood up, his hands flat on the table. I won't do it. Find another way. That's an order, Captain. Then court-martial me. I'm not using her as bait. The room went silent. Hana gave him a warning look, but Taeyang did not care. He had seen too many plans fail, too many acceptable risks end in body bags. He would not gamble with Nira's life. Choi's expression hardened. You're dismissed, Captain. Consider yourself relieved of duty. Pending disciplinary review. Taeyang left the briefing room, his mind racing. If the military would not protect Nira properly, he would have to do it himself. He returned to the diplomatic facility and went straight to Nira's quarters. She was reading when he entered, her 4 eyes lifting from the datapad. Taeyang? What's wrong? We need to leave. Now. What are you talking about? He explained quickly, telling her about the conspiracy and the military's plan. Nira listened, her expression growing colder with each word. When he finished, she stood slowly. So your superiors wish to use me as a lure. I won't let that happen. But we need to disappear until I can figure out who we can trust. Nira studied him for a long moment. If you do this, you will be declared a traitor to your military. Your career will be over. I know. Why would you sacrifice so much for me? Taeyang met her four-eyed gaze steadily. Because it's the right thing to do. And because you're not just an assignment anymore. You're a person I respect. Maybe even a friend. Something in Nira's expression softened. She nodded once, decisively. Then let us go. Together. They left the facility in the dead of night, using maintenance corridors and back exits that Taeyang had memorized weeks ago. By the time anyone realized they were gone, they were already far away, heading toward a safe location only one person knew about. As they flew through the dark sky in a stolen transport, Nira looked at Taeyang and said quietly, "Thank you for believing. Our future is worth protecting." There it was again. Our future. This time, Taeyang did not correct her. The safe house was hidden deep in the mountains, far from any city or town. It was a place Taeyang had prepared years ago. During his time in black operations, no one knew about it except one person, and that was exactly who met them when they arrived. Lieutenant Hana Park was waiting by the door, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. She looked at Taeyang and shook her head slowly. "You really went and did it. You went rogue. I couldn't let them use her as bait, Hannah." "I know." She sighed and stepped aside to let them in. "That's why I'm here. When I realized you'd disappeared with the princess, I knew where you'd go. Figured you could use some help. Won't you get in trouble for this?" Nira asked, stepping into the modest cabin. "Probably." Hana shrugged. "But Taeyang saved my life 3 times in the field. I owe him. Besides, something about this whole situation smells wrong. The conspiracy goes deeper than they're telling us." They spent the next few days gathering information. Hana had copied classified files before leaving the base. And Nira used her diplomatic access codes to hack into Velarine communication networks. What they found was worse than any of them had imagined. The conspiracy was not just about stopping the treaty. It was about taking power. On the Velarine side, a noble named Lord Keth Soran wanted to claim the throne. He saw the alliance with humans as weakness, a betrayal of Velarine purity. If Nira died, her mother would have no heir. In the chaos that followed, Keth Soran could seize control. On the human side, Colonel Daehyun Choi was not the loyal officer he pretended to be. He led a secret group that believed aliens would enslave humanity. They wanted to eliminate Nira and blame the Velarines for breaking the treaty first. In the war that followed, they planned to seize control of Earth's military. "They're working together," Hana said, staring at the data in disbelief. "A Velarine noble and a human extremist, cooperating to kill the princess and start a war." "It makes sense," Taeyang said grimly. "Both of them benefit from conflict. Peace is their enemy." Nira stood by the window, looking out at the mountains. Her 4 eyes were distant, thoughtful. "My mother trusted me to build a bridge between our peoples. Instead, I have become a target that brings enemies together." "That's not your fault," Taeyang said. "Is it not? Perhaps the treaty was a mistake. Perhaps our species are meant to remain apart." "Do you really believe that?" Nira turned to look at him. "No, I do not. I have seen too much of Earth, learned too much about humans. I believe more than ever that we need each other. But belief is not enough against those who profit from division." "Then we expose them," Hana said. "We gather proof and make it public. Once both governments see the conspiracy, they'll have to act." "It won't be that simple," Taeyang said. "Keth Soran and Choi have agents everywhere. The moment we surface, they'll know. And they'll send everything they have to kill us and bury the evidence." "So what do you suggest?" Taeyang thought for a moment. "The Unity Summit is in 5 days. Both the Velarine Empress and Earth's High Chancellor will be there. If we can get our evidence to them directly, in front of witnesses, the conspirators can't hide. They'll be watching the summit closely, Hana warned. Security will be impossible to breach. Not if we go in the front door, Nira said quietly. I am still a princess. I have the right to attend. They cannot refuse me entry. That's exactly what they want, Taeyang protested. You'll be walking into their trap, then we make our own trap. Nira's 4 eyes gleamed with determination. We enter openly, but we bring the proof with us. We broadcast it live during the summit. The conspirators will have to react. And when they do, we expose them in front of everyone. It was risky. It was dangerous. It might get them all killed. But it was also their best chance. Taeyang looked at Hana, who nodded slowly. I can get us weapons and equipment. And I know some soldiers who still believe in the treaty. Good people who won't ask questions. Then we have a plan, Taeyang said. The next 3 days were spent in preparation. Hana reached out to trusted contacts, gathering a small team of veterans who had seen enough war to want peace. Nira encrypted the evidence and prepared multiple backup copies. Taeyang studied the summit location, memorizing every entrance, exit, and security checkpoint. On the 3rd night, as they reviewed their plan one final time, Nira pulled Taeyang aside. They stood on the cabin's small porch, the mountain air cold and crisp. Above them, stars filled the sky in a way they never did in the city. I wanted to thank you, Nira said softly, for everything you have done. You have sacrificed your career, your reputation, perhaps your life, all to protect me. It's what humans do, Taeyang said. We protect the things we care about. Is that what I am to you? Something you care about? Taeyang looked at her. Really looked at her. Somewhere over the past weeks, she had stopped being an alien princess and started being just Nira. Someone who laughed at stupid jokes. Someone who asked endless questions about Earth. Someone who believed in a better future even when it seemed impossible. Yeah, he said quietly. You are. Nira stepped closer. Her 4 eyes studied his face. And for once, he did not feel examined or judged. He felt seen. In Velarine culture, we do not form bonds easily. We are taught that emotion is inefficient, that logic should guide all decisions. But humans have taught me something different. Sometimes, the illogical choice is the right one. What are you saying? I am saying that when I speak of our future, I mean yours and mine, specifically, not just our species, but us. She paused, then added, I do not know if such a thing is possible. A human and a Velarine. But I know that I want to try. Taeyang felt his heart hammering in his chest. He had fought in wars, survived impossible odds, faced death more times than he could count. But this moment terrified him more than any battle. Nira, if we survive the summit, if we somehow make it through this, then yes, I want to try too. She smiled, and it was like watching the sun rise. Then we will survive. And Velarines never fail to achieve their goals once they set them. Exactly. Together, we are unstoppable. The night before the summit, Hana received troubling news. One of their team members had been found dead, killed by professional assassins. The conspirators knew something was happening, even if they did not know the details. They were tightening their grip, eliminating potential threats. We should call it off, Hana said. We cannot, Nira said firmly. If we wait, they will find us eventually. The summit is our only chance, Taeyang agreed. We go in as planned. The morning of the summit arrived. Taeyang dressed in his military uniform, the same one he had worn the day he met Nira. It felt like a lifetime ago. Hana and the small team checked their weapons and equipment. Nira wore her royal robes, every inch the princess again. But Taeyang could see the determination in her eyes. They arrived at the summit building in an unmarked transport. Security was heavy, with both human and Velarine guards everywhere. Taeyang's hand stayed close to his weapon as they passed through the checkpoints. He recognized some of the guards as loyalists who might be working for Choi. Inside, the summit hall was enormous and packed with delegates from across the galaxy. The Velarine Empress sat on a raised platform, her presence commanding and cold. The Earth High Chancellor sat opposite her, flanked by advisors. Between them was an empty space where Nira was supposed to sit as a symbol of unity. Nira walked forward, her head high, her steps confident. Taeyang followed at her shoulder. He could feel eyes on them from every direction. Somewhere in this crowd were assassins waiting for their moment. Nira reached the central platform and turned to address the assembly. She began her prepared speech about cooperation and shared futures. But Taeyang was not listening. He was watching the crowd, looking for threats. That was when he saw Colonel Choi moving through the delegates, his hand reaching inside his jacket. At the same moment, a Velarine noble, Lord Keth Soran, stood from his seat, his guards positioning themselves strategically around the room. Time seemed to slow. Taeyang saw it all happening at once. The bomb hidden in the ventilation system. The assassins dressed as security guards. The trap closing around them. "Nira," he shouted, moving toward her, and then the world exploded into chaos. Gunfire erupted from multiple directions. Delegates screamed and ran. Taeyang threw himself in front of Nira as plasma bolts sizzled past them. Hana and her team returned fire, trying to protect the Empress and Chancellor. Through the chaos, Nira's voice rang out, amplified by the hall's speakers. She had activated her diplomatic broadcast. And now, her face appeared on screens throughout the building and beyond. "Citizens of Earth and the Velarine Empire, see now the truth of those who would divide us." She began broadcasting the evidence, showing the conspiracy for all to see. Keth Soran's plans. Choi's betrayal. The alliance between human and Velarine extremists. The truth, undeniable and damning. And in that moment, with bullets flying and bombs exploding, the future hung in the balance. The summit hall had become a war zone. Taeyang dragged Nira behind the speaker's platform as plasma bolts and bullets tore through the air above them. The screens throughout the hall continued broadcasting her evidence, showing images and recordings of the conspiracy to thousands of viewers. There was no hiding the truth now. "Stay down!" Taeyang shouted over the noise. He returned fire at the fake security guards who were advancing toward them. His shots were precise, dropping 2 attackers before they could reach the platform. Years of combat experience guided his movements, making each bullet count. Across the hall, Hana and her small team had formed a defensive position around the Empress and Chancellor. Both leaders were protected by their own guards now, real ones who had realized what was happening. The chaos of the attack had revealed the conspirators, forcing them to act openly. Colonel Choi emerged from the panicked crowd, his weapon drawn. His face was twisted with rage. "You should have stayed out of this, Kim. You could have lived." "I picked the right side," Taeyang shouted back, firing at Choi. The colonel ducked behind a pillar, returning fire. On the other side of the hall, Lord Keth Soran was trying to reach the exit, his personal guards cutting a path through the crowd. But Velarine loyalists blocked his escape, weapons raised. The noble's 4 eyes were wide with fury and fear. His careful plan was falling apart. "The bomb!" Hana's voice crackled in Taeyang's earpiece. "They planted a bomb in the ventilation system. If it goes off, it'll bring down the whole building. And with her 40-7, with Munders Agrom, and with Munders Agrom, with Munders Agrom, and and weld. The plan." Taeyang looked at Nira. She was already accessing her data pad, her fingers moving quickly across the controls. "I can disable it remotely if I can access the building's security network. But I need time and a direct connection." "How much time?" 3 minutes. Maybe 4. Taeyang checked his ammunition. He was running low. Around them, the battle was intensifying. More conspirators were revealing themselves, attacking anyone who supported the treaty. But the loyal forces were fighting back hard. This was not just about politics anymore. It was about survival. And, Tingy, I'll buy you the time, Taeyang said. Hana, cover the princess. Already on it. Hana moved toward them, her movements quick and efficient. She took up a position beside Nira, her weapon ready. Taeyang stood and ran toward the ventilation access point. It was on the far side of the hall, past the fighting, past the chaos. He moved like a human predator, fast and relentless. Bullets hit the ground near his feet. A plasma bolt grazed his shoulder, burning through his uniform. He ignored the pain and kept moving. A conspirator stepped into his path, weapon raised. Taeyang did not slow down. He closed the distance and fought hand to hand, using techniques learned in 100 battles. The man was good, trained, and dangerous. But Taeyang was human, and humans fought with a desperation that most aliens could not match. He won in seconds, leaving the conspirator unconscious on the floor. He reached the ventilation panel and tore it open. Inside was a sophisticated bomb, its timer counting down. 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Taeyang pulled out his datapad and connected it to the building's network, creating a secure link for Nira to use. Connection established, he called through his comm. You're in. Working on it. Nira's voice was calm, despite the battle raging around her. Taeyang could picture her, focused and determined, her 4 eyes tracking multiple data streams at once. Taeyang turned to defend the access point. 3 more conspirators were advancing toward him. Having realized what he was doing, he fired his remaining rounds, dropping 1. The other 2 kept coming. He drew his combat knife, preparing for close combat. The fight was brutal. One attacker came at him with superhuman speed, enhanced by military augmentations. Taeyang took a hard hit to his ribs, feeling something crack, but he absorbed the pain and struck back, his knife finding vital points. Humans could take damage that would disable most species and keep fighting. It was what made them terrifying in close combat. The second attacker hesitated, having seen his partner fall. That hesitation was fatal. Taeyang moved in fast, disarming and incapacitating him within seconds. Bomb is disarmed, Nira's voice came through the comm. Taeyang, are you all right? I'm fine, he lied, holding his injured ribs. Stay where you are. But the battle was far from over. Colonel Choi had broken through the defenders and was advancing toward Nira's position. His face was set with grim determination. If he could not blow up the building, he would kill the princess himself and blame it on Velarine traitors. Taeyang ran back across the hall, his lungs burning, his body screaming in protest. He was too far away. Choi was almost to the platform. Hana was reloading, caught off guard by the colonel's sudden charge. Time seemed to slow. Taeyang saw Choi raise his weapon, aiming at Nira. He saw Nira turn, her 4 eyes widening as she recognized the threat. He saw Hana try to swing her weapon around, knowing she would be too slow. And then Taeyang did something stupid, something desperate, something completely human. He threw himself between Nira and Choi just as the colonel fired. The bullet hit him square in the chest, punching through his uniform and into his body. The impact threw him backward, and he crashed to the floor beside Nira. The pain was enormous, overwhelming everything else. But Taeyang had been shot before. He knew his body could survive this. Humans had redundant systems, thick bones, and a stubborn refusal to die when they were supposed to. He forced his hand to move, pulling his backup weapon from its ankle holster. Choi was advancing for a second shot when Taeyang fired. 3 times. Center, mass. The colonel fell. Surprise. Frozen on his face, Nira dropped to her knees beside Taeyang, her 4 eyes wide with terror. No, no, no. You cannot die. You promised we would survive this together. Not dying, Taeyang managed through clenched teeth. Just hurts like hell. Medical teams were rushing in now that the shooting had stopped. The conspirators were either dead, captured, or fleeing. Across the hall, Lord Keth Soren was being restrained by Velarine guards, his robes torn, his dignity shattered. The conspiracy had failed. The Empress herself approached, her presence commanding even in the aftermath of battle. She looked at her daughter, then at the human who had saved her life twice now. "This one has more honor than many who claim noble birth," she said, her voice carrying authority. "He will be treated by our best physicians. Mother, please." Nira's voice was breaking, showing emotion that royalty was never supposed to display. "He is important to me. To have. To have. To have. To have. To have. To have. To have." The Empress studied her daughter with all four eyes. Something passed between them, an understanding that needed no words. "Then he shall have the best care we can provide." Velarine medical technology was far ahead of Earth's. Within an hour, Taeyang's wounds had been stabilized. The bullet had missed his heart by centimeters. His ribs were healing in a regeneration chamber. The doctors said he would make a full recovery, though they seemed amazed he had survived at all. Human resilience continued to surprise them. Nira never left his side. She sat beside his medical bed, holding his hand with a grip that would not let go. "You are an idiot," she said softly. "A brave, honorable, stubborn idiot. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever called me," Taeyang replied, managing a weak smile. "When I said we would survive together, I meant both of us. You do not get to die saving me. My meeting 7, our cord. When they know then 7, our cord in 7. Didn't die though, did I? You came too close." Her four eyes were bright with unshed tears. Velarine's did not cry easily, but she was close. "I have already lost my guards to this conspiracy. I cannot lose you too. Right? 170 rest. I 170 rest. 170 rest. 170 rest. 170 rest. 170 rest. 170 rest. 170 rest." "You won't," Taeyang promised. "I'm too stubborn to die, remember?" Hannah appeared in the doorway, looking exhausted but alive. "The summit is continuing. Both governments are calling for full investigations. The conspiracy is falling apart. We did it." "What about the treaty?" Taeyang asked, stronger than ever. "Turns out nothing unites people like a common enemy. Both the Empress and the Chancellor are furious that extremists tried to manipulate them. They're doubling down on cooperation." Hannah smiled. "You too. Just saved the peace." Over the next few days, the full extent of the conspiracy came to light. Dozens of conspirators on both sides were arrested. Lord Keth Soren and the surviving members of Choi's group were put on trial. Their crimes broadcast across the galaxy. The evidence Nira had compiled became the foundation for new security measures to prevent such plots in the future. But more importantly, public opinion had shifted. Humans and Velarines had watched the summit battle together, seeing members of both species fighting side by side for peace. They had seen a human soldier nearly die protecting an alien princess. They had seen a Velarine royal risk everything to expose the truth. The story spread across both civilizations, becoming a symbol of what cooperation could achieve. Taeyang and Nira became famous, though neither of them wanted the attention. On his third day of recovery, Taeyang was finally cleared to leave the medical facility. He found Nira waiting outside, dressed in simpler robes than her usual formal wear. She smiled when she saw him. Ready to go?" she asked. "Where are we going?" "To see our future." She took his hand naturally, as if it was the most normal thing in the world. "My mother has approved a joint program between our species. Humans and Velarines working together on problems neither can solve alone. She wants me to lead it. That's incredible, and I want you to lead it with me. As my partner." She paused, her four eyes meeting his too. "In all ways," Taeyang felt his heart skip. "Nira, are you sure?" This will be complicated. Our species have different cultures, different expectations. I have never been more sure of anything. Her grip on his hand tightened. You have shown me that the best things come from facing challenges together. Let us face this one. Taeyang pulled her close, ignoring the protests from his healing ribs. All right then. Together. For our future. Our future, Nira repeated. And this time, no one questioned what she meant. 6 months had passed since the summit. The Unity program had become the most successful cooperative effort in galactic history. Taeyang stood in the observation deck of the new joint facility, watching construction crews work on the expanding complex below. Human workers moved alongside Velarine engineers, their different approaches to problem-solving creating solutions neither species would have found alone. The facility floated in orbit between Earth and the Velarine home world. Neutral ground where both species could meet as equals. It housed research laboratories, cultural exchange centers, and diplomatic offices. Already, 3 major breakthroughs had emerged from human-Velarine collaboration. A new propulsion system that combined human adaptability with Velarine precision. A medical treatment that used human regenerative research to help Velarines recover from injuries they previously could not heal. And most importantly, a growing friendship between 2 species that had almost gone to war. You are thinking too hard again. Nira's voice came from behind him. She moved to stand beside him, her 4 eyes reflecting the stars outside. I can see it in your face. Just remembering how we got here, Taeyang said. A year ago. I thought my job was just to keep you alive for 12 months. Now, look at us. Now we are building something that will last generations. Nira smiled. That same smile that still made his heart skip. Though I admit, when my mother first assigned me to come to Earth, I did not imagine it would lead to this. To what? A space station full of scientists? To falling in love with a human. She said it simply. Without embarrassment. 6 months together had taught her that humans valued direct honesty in matters of the heart. Taeyang turned to face her fully. They had been partners in every sense for months now, but hearing her say it still felt new and wonderful. Your mother wasn't too happy about that at first. She has adjusted. Slowly. Very slowly. Nira's 4 eyes sparkled with amusement. But she cannot deny the results. Our relationship has become a symbol of what the Unity program represents. 2 different beings, from different worlds, choosing to build something together. No pressure then. None at all. Nira leaned against him, a gesture she had learned from human affection. Velarines did not normally seek physical contact, but she had discovered she liked it. Though I must admit, explaining human customs to Velarine society has been interesting. They are still confused about why you gave me flowers. Flowers die, they say. Why give something that dies? Because beauty doesn't have to last forever to be worth having, Taeyang said, repeating what he had told her when he first gave her a bouquet of earth roses. I kept them, you know. Preserved them with Velarine technology. They will last 1,000 years now. That kind of ruins the point. I am Velarine. We do not let beautiful things die if we can help it. She looked up at him with all 4 eyes, and the meaning was clear. She was not just talking about flowers. A comm signal interrupted the moment. Hana's face appeared on the nearby screen, looking excited. Taeyang, Nira, you need to come to Lab 7 immediately. The research team has something incredible to show you. They made their way through the facility's corridors, passing groups of humans and Velarines working together. The atmosphere had changed dramatically over the past months. At first, both species had been cautious and formal with each other. Now there was laughter, casual conversation, and genuine friendship. Cultural exchange programs had introduced humans to Velarine art and philosophy, while Velarines discovered human music and storytelling. Lab 7 was a large space filled with experimental equipment. The research team, a mix of both species, gathered around a central display. Dr. Minji Quan, the human team lead, was practically bouncing with excitement. "We did it," she announced. "The terraforming project. We found a way to make it work." Taeyang and Nira looked at the display, which showed a barren planet in a nearby system. The simulation ran, showing the planet transforming over decades into a lush, habitable world. But unlike previous terraforming attempts, this one would work for both human and Velarine life simultaneously. "This is remarkable," Nira breathed. "Both our species have tried to terraform worlds before, and failed. Humans lack the precision. Velarines lack the adaptability to handle unexpected changes. But together we can create new worlds," Dr. Kwan finished. "Worlds where both species can live side by side. We are calling it New Harmony. It would be the first true joint colony." The implications were enormous. A world where human children and Velarine young could grow up together, where both cultures could blend and create something entirely new, where the future Nira kept talking about could become real and tangible. "How soon can we start?" Taeyang asked. "That depends on approval from both governments," Dr. Kwan said. "We will need resources, volunteers, and political support, but the technology is sound. We can begin within a year if given permission." Nira looked at Taeyang, and he saw the same excitement in her 4 eyes that he felt. "We should present this to the Joint Council immediately." The presentation to the Joint Council took place a week later. The Velarine Empress attended via hologram, as did Earth's High Chancellor and representatives from a dozen other species who had been watching the Unity program with interest. Taeyang and Nira stood together at the front of the chamber, presenting the terraforming project. "New Harmony represents more than just a colony," Nira explained to the assembled leaders. "It represents a commitment to a shared future, a place where our children and our children's children will live not as separate species sharing space, but as one community with 2 heritages. The risks are significant," the Empress pointed out. Her image was imposing even as a hologram. "We would be placing our people in a vulnerable position. What if the cooperation fails?" 1. "With respect, Your Majesty," Taeyang said. "Cooperation has already succeeded beyond anyone's expectations. The attempts to divide our species have failed. The conspirators are in prison. And every day, we discover new ways that humans and Velarines make each other stronger." "You speak from personal experience, Captain," the Empress noted, and there was something that might have been approval in her voice. "My daughter has written extensively about human resilience. She believes it is the key to Velarine revival. And Velarine wisdom has given humans something we have always lacked," Taeyang replied. "Stability. Patience. The ability to plan for centuries instead of years. Together, we balance each other." The Earth Chancellor leaned forward. "This is a significant commitment of resources. And politically sensitive. There are still factions on Earth who oppose deep cooperation with aliens. There will always be those who fear change," Nira said. "But we cannot let fear dictate our future. Humans taught me that. When faced with extinction, humanity did not hide. You explored. You adapted. You refused to accept limitations. That spirit is what makes this project possible." The debate continued for hours. Arguments were made for and against the proposal. Some supported it enthusiastically. Others raised concerns about costs, risks, and cultural impacts. But slowly, the tide turned in favor. Too many people had been inspired by what the Unity program had already achieved. Too many had come to see cooperation as the path forward. Finally, the Empress spoke. "My daughter believes in this vision with a passion I have not seen from her before. She has changed since coming to Earth, become stronger, more decisive. If she says this project will succeed, I am inclined to believe her." She paused, her 4 eyes focusing on Nira through the hologram. "You have my approval. Daughter, build your new world." The Earth Chancellor nodded slowly. "Earth will support the project. Captain Kim, Princess Nira, you will lead the colonial effort. Make us proud." The chamber erupted in applause from supporters, though some delegates remained silent. Change was never easy, and not everyone was ready to embrace it. But the approval was given. New harmony would become real. In the months that followed, volunteers flooded in from both species. Families willing to leave their home worlds to build something new. Scientists eager to study a truly mixed society. Young people who saw the colony as a chance to escape old prejudices and create a better world. Taeyang and Nira worked endless hours coordinating the effort. They selected colonists, approved building plans, and mediated disputes between human and Velarine cultural expectations. It was exhausting, challenging, and exactly what both of them wanted to do. One evening, as they reviewed colonist applications in their shared quarters, Nira suddenly stopped and looked at Taeyang. "Do you remember what you asked me when we first met? After the first assassination attempt, I asked you a lot of things. You asked why I came to Earth, what I hoped to find here." She set down her datapad. "I gave you a political answer then, but the truth is, I came because I felt like I was dying slowly on my home world. Everything was perfect and predictable and empty. I wanted to feel alive. And did you find what you were looking for?" "I found more than I was looking for." She moved closer to him. "I found purpose. I found a cause worth fighting for. And I found you." One. Taeyang pulled her into his arms, marveling again at how natural it felt despite their differences. "I never expected any of this. I thought I was just a bodyguard. Now I am helping to build a new world with the woman I love." "Not just the woman you love," Nira corrected gently. "Your partner. In everything. That too." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Nira spoke again. "There is something I have been meaning to ask you. A human custom I have learned about." "And what's that?" "Marriage. The formal bonding of two people who wish to spend their lives together." She turned to look at him with all four eyes. "Would you marry me, Taeyang Kim?" Taeyang felt his breath catch. They had talked about their future together in abstract terms, but this made it concrete and real. "You are supposed to let me ask that question. Why?" "I am a princess. I do not wait for things to happen. I make them happen." She smiled. "Besides, humans value equality in relationships. So I am asking, will you?" "Yes," Taeyang said without hesitation. "Yes, I will marry you." The wedding took place on the Unity Station, attended by representatives from across the galaxy. It was a blend of human and Velarine traditions, creating something entirely new. Taeyang wore a formal military uniform. Nira wore robes that combined the elegant style of Velarine royalty with earth silk. They exchanged vows in both languages, promising to stand together through whatever came. The Empress herself attended in person for the first time since the Unity program began. She placed her hands on her daughter's shoulders and said, "You have brought honor to our house, not through conquest or tradition, but through courage and vision. I am proud of you." To Taeyang, she simply nodded. "Protect her heart as fiercely as you protected her life." "I will," Taeyang promised. "Always." 5 years later, the first permanent settlements were established on New Harmony. Taeyang and Nira stood on a hill overlooking the new city, watching as the sunset painted the sky in colors that existed nowhere else. Human and Velarine architecture blended together, creating a unique skyline. In the streets below, children of both species played together, speaking a language that mixed both tongues. "This is what I saw," Nira said softly, "when I first spoke of our future. This moment, this place, two species, building something together that neither could create alone. It is beautiful," Taeyang agreed. "And terrifying. We are responsible for all of them now." "We are. But we are not alone. We have each other. And we have learned that together, humans and Velarines can survive anything." She took his hand. "Our future is beginning." Finally, and truly beginning. Tae-young squeezed her hand, thinking back to that first day when he was assigned to protect an alien princess he knew nothing about. He had expected a year of guard duty. Instead, he had found a partner, a purpose, and a home in the most unexpected place. Behind them, Lieutenant Hana approached with a datapad. She had become the colony's security chief, still watching over them both. Report from the orbital station. 3 more ships requesting permission to land, all carrying families who want to join the colony. Approved, Nira said. There is room for all who wish to build our future with us. As Hana left to process the new arrivals, Tae-young and Nira remained on the hill, watching their dream become real. The future stretched ahead of them, unknown and full of challenges. But they faced it together, a human and a Velarine, proving every day that the strongest bonds were forged not in similarity, but in choosing to understand each other's differences. And in the city below, the children played on, the first generation who would never know a time when humans and Velarines were not family.